Looks like we're locked, finally. I was fighting with my webcam for like all morning. I don't know when it stops to work and why it stops. But just sometimes it really annoys me the hell out of me. And ironically, it worked most of the time on Linux. I don't know if it's my like it's something I did wrong or whatever the fuck this is, but man, it sure sucks. Okay, so back to my good old man here. I was excited to finish this drawing today. It is really, I don't know, it felt very I don't know when you find a reference that looks great. Can't even tell you why. I think about this costume, so I liked a lot what my man did over here. Or the crew. I don't know whose idea for the costume was, but I find it sweet. So I'm gonna work into outlining it, and then we'll see how that goes. Okay, the outline is looking mostly great, except for this guy over here. Like that part doesn't look amazing. Now this is the thicker parts. I'm gonna go with 15 for internals, and I'm gonna work the jacket. One trick that I found was from this DC guy. He's very smart because he just basically adds another layer every time that he needs to do details so that he doesn't give problem to the layers below. I don't know, it's very simple, but it's very effective. It's something that should be quite intuitive. I don't think about the softwares mothering so much. So what we want to work is the not. I did not give enough of a natural look to this part. So yeah, this looks a little bit, tiny bit better. Gonna put a little shadow. Actually, I'm gonna put like everything in shadow, then gonna leave it open. Tiny bit over here. Yup. So the mustache part. Back to 15. Very well. So this is my base. Now for the coat. I'm gonna give a little more to the coat. Problem is they making it silky smooth, which I believe is not. Like, it isn't really that smooth. I don't know how I do I texturize. I think that this is a case in which I should be using some halftones. Do I have any brush that is a halftone? There's the pointillism. I don't think I have. Paint and apply. Not really. There's the watercolor stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna take this later because at the moment I don't know where do we go from here. Because I can smooth it out and make it a little darker. So this is going to give it some. It's definitely gonna give it something. But the biggest problem that I have at the moment is I don't know how to give it like that furry stuff. There's not a lot of hair. I think maybe. How about if we give it like tiny, teeny, tiny. First off, there's actually where the fabric is being torn. But besides that, I think I can maybe infer it in some way. Does this look like as... Does not convince me. Okay, let's work it out later on. Like at this moment, it doesn't sound fun since I don't know where to put my hands on. So let's not get over dramatic at something that I don't wish to solve, that I don't care to solve at this moment. Right? Looks great. Let's make some separation on his, like under his shoulder. Then gonna work on this big space over here, which is where they're going to be this huge black surface. And so does this. Yep. Actually, no. Should be a tiny bit sharper. Gonna be like the top part. Then there's the bottom. Okay, it's a tiny bit sharper, so that works. Now, clothes tend to have like this sharper balance. Okay. And there's the hand. Maybe we can, right? Oh yeah, what the fuck? Merge layer below. Let's fix this shit. Okay. And back to details. Oh, I almost worked it out. Smooth. Okay, let's outline the entire jacket, add a little bit more details. Find out some way that I can infer 4 or very thin 4. Like looking at the reference, if I'm able to drag it down. See, this is the texture. Well, first off, the photograph is does not have enough for me to understand, but I don't think I have any reliable way to see it without maybe being some kind of halftone. Same goes to the jacket. There's a little bit of texture to it. So I'm gonna try later on to, maybe not even right now, but later in the day, to try to infer some way in which I can infer the texture. Okay. So the buttons. Buttons, buttons. And buttons. They have a tiny bit of a decoration. Okay. Do I consider the cane part of the jacket? I don't think so. I'm gonna work it top down and add the details. Again, the fur, honestly, I don't know. Here we can work out like this is where I don't know how to say it, like where the fabric gets put together. I think that I don't know how to say it in English. Like where you sew. Okay, so this is the sewing part. That's free texture. Then there's the, maybe again I'm happy with this and do it again. Okay, so also here's a little bit of the folds. Man, I can't really recall words at this moment. So the big folds, I'm fine with actually putting them. But the smaller ones, I think they look better as hatching. First off, I really enjoying hatching at the current moment. Second off, there's a little bit, when I hatch, there's a tiny bit of a separation between what I'm hatching and what's going on. And I think that allows to make it more clear what's a fold and what's not. This is an interesting fold, so let's fold this, fold this. It's a little bit thicker. And then there's the light. So the light bows down over here. Now, obviously, this won't work, right? I can merge it and cover everything up. Yes, this is sick. So one bigger shape is over here. Like, am I a simpleton? I keep on misunderstanding the way in which the shapes are being formed. So finally, the last one that I'm gonna add is gonna be like this and like this. So I think that the overall it is some good shapes. Maybe I can work it out a little more over here. A little extra shadow and it being irregular is actually kind of cool. Again, the texture, I don't know what I'm supposed to search in the texture over here. brother, please. Okay, I have to shortcut it. I think there's some interesting yeah, some interesting shit we can do. Okay. So you disarm lacks a little bit of most things, really. This is going to be something. And it's going to be something else. Silky smooth. Right. So overall, a lot of readings on the left. Let's read something on the right. Coming from here, here, and why not here? Tone it down a little. All right. Good, good, good. Back to 15. You know what? Having everything in black is actually very relaxing. Like it's working out pretty smoothly. I need a tissue. A second. So I fully intend to finish this off today. Unfortunately, I don't think we can also work on the that godforsaken the nah, this looks terrible. Like on the next day, not gonna say that I'm super disappointed. Like, don't get me wrong, it would be great to be back on track. This has been quite a nice ride so far, so I'm happy to sticking in. Like even this morning, I was ready to stream at like 7, but life got in the way. I had to do some really small tasks. It wasn't anything crazy. But since I was awaiting the time to stream, I was ready and pumped. It really was a bummer to keep on pausing and waiting for stuff. So it got quite annoyed. I remember that I'm here to just have a little bit of fun, so I was able to unpack my being unreasonable and chill it the fuck down. You might be thinking that I'm being stupid on purpose and I keep misplaying that, but actually, yes, I keep on simply and by complete accident misplaying it. And this is a place when I can cross hatch a little. But tomorrow I want to work out a little chess joke. Yeah, because the last days I was not really much into the prompt. It is actually cool to still draw even if you like don't really like the prompt. That's what life's gonna be for a pretty good part, but it's actually great when you have some cool inspiration on a specific god fucking on a specific prompt. Today it felt more like more to my taste. I was 50% about the idea to just do that instead of getting back to this, but I was enjoying the process. This one, let's make it a little distinct. Otherwise I'm gonna lose it. I wonder, does this give it a little bit of dimensionality or it is quite the opposite? Looks like it's quite the opposite. Oh well, what can you do? That's just how sometimes it goes. Okay, so this arm is silk smooth. Let's correct that. I think I'm going to like add this little guy over here, and also this unevenness over here. Let's get this a little bit in the side part. Excellent. That works out pretty nicely. I think I'm just gonna add a couple more shapes. Maybe a little kind of texture over here. And yep, this is quite nice. I think that the jacket portion can be fine. I wouldn't go any further over here. Like maybe I can get back to it, but don't feel like it. The only part that I don't have in my mind that I don't know how to. I don't feeling very confident, or more than confident, I would say that I wish to try something on is this part over here. This is the part like the furry parts of the coat. That's the part that I dislike. In the sense that I know there can be worked more. Also, I forgot that there's a pattern over here. Let's try to work out the pattern. One, two. Totally works. Now I have greatly simplified the patterns, but kinda whatever. It is about what you want to achieve. And there's a lot being achieved with these patterns, I think. Feels pretty smooth. Alrighty. For the jacket. No, okay, let's finish the part of the if. God damn it, I don't. It feels like I'm not speaking English at the moment. I don't know how to call that part. It's not a blouse. What the fuck is it? Like the one that you put when you go to an interview. That's a part of the English that I don't that is hard. Not the, well, I wouldn't say the English, but the being learning foreign language. That's the part that's hardest. Is being able to speak with confidence and remember terms that I have in my vocabulary. I know how to say. I know how to. I would know if I need to understand it, but when the current situation calls for me to speak about, just it's not here. It is understandable, sure, but it is pissing me the fuck off. Because like I wouldn't mind to be able to speak some. Would actually be happy if I could speak English in a simpler manner, in a more natural way. But I'm trying to be a native without being a native. It was really always in my alley to want this a little extra a lot of the times. No, just I think that there's a lot of the excuses that can be made. And I don't want to be like, hey, I wasn't born in any English speaking countries, then therefore I can't learn and speak. I can't put my mind to speak in it well. It's kind of, to me personally, that kind of situations where might as well then not learn it, you know? I can understand it pretty well. Just speaking is very different from understanding. Twitch has been proving very fruitful in this regard. Because at the end of the day, it still it forces me to try and work it out, my speech. So this has been definitely a plus. All right then. That's why I keep coming back. Well, it is only my second return, and I wasn't away for that long. But it felt like I disliked this. I dislike always to quit when I decide not to. I wasn't in the. It wasn't in my alley to not do Twitch in the current time. That's why it felt bad when I stopped streaming. It's like I decided to stop some of my studies because I thought that that's what I needed, and since it wasn't really, I just played on them, and that's the honorable way to, in my mind, stop. Like, sure, you tried, it wasn't actually the correct way, fine, whatever. Twitch and all of this, there was a bunch of excuses, so those kind of quitting is not okay, and I wish to do less of. So in a way, me streaming, especially since now I'm streaming specifically drawing, it's a way in which I'm getting back to it and hopefully sticking to it. Because last time I wasn't holding it up for that long. Yeah, I'm gonna do a detour and finish this cloth off. Even then, it was hard to quit uh, to quit something out of my own volition. Because up until the point, I think that quitting it in a subconsciously is the easy way out. Because you can always justify, well, I did not quit, I just gonna be back later on, you know? But since I drawn it out and put the clear dot that I'm not going back to it, it felt like it was permanent. And it was hard. It is harder than quitting on accident. Because on accident you can always justify yourself. I can't at the moment. I had to face to face. Well, it wasn't face to face because I'm the only one drawing, but I had to come to terms with the fact that what I did was a waste of time. I was close to keep on wasting time, so it was like I could keep it going, but I basically just gonna waste my time even more. Or maybe waste, no, but there's definitely better exercises and better investments of time. Even drawing at this moment, it's proven to be quite useful. I built a lot of grit, I built a lot of intuition, which wasn't here like last time. There's a lot of constancy, so I become I've gained a lot more than if I were to just be back and doing exercises and grinding out stuff that at the end of the day don't really matter. It's just I once more fell on something that in a conscious manner I know I should have felt for. Now I'm being a lot more empathetic with people that like one thing that I've grown in aspect a lot in the recent years is with people that getting scammed. I always thought, Well, you're gonna be some kind of fucking stupid to get scammed. But on simpler levels, I did scam myself constantly. And makes me happy that I get rid of this self-righteousness or self-aggrandizing bullshit that I tend to have. Of course, I'm not losing money by wasting time or by anything else, but I'm wasting the occasion to do something cool. And that's probably even worse. Money, when there is enough for food to go around, is not an interesting resource. It's a resource that you would want always more of it. Sure, more should theoretically be quite good. But at the same time, I I would know how to spend more. Absolutely. But at the same time, it's not something that can do a whole lot of interesting things on its own. Like having a lot of money, maybe I could get some artists to draw my comic book. And that would be great. But I would be losing on all the growing aspects that I do by learning to draw. And who knows, maybe these aspects actually are helping me at the same time to write some cool stories. You may never know. Yeah, I'm happy to not rob myself of the experience. I used to think a long time when I worked as a when I cleaned tables. That was one of those things that helped me finish university because it's like, yep, I'm not cleaning tables anymore. Fuck that. That's a terrible job. Not the cleaning tables. Yes, it was physically grueling. Sure, it was. But the frustration of people who work in that industry, don't know if it stems from money. Could be maybe it stems from maybe it is from the money, maybe it is from the emptiness. But man, people who work in those in these in that context are very frustrated and they take it out on you any chance they have. And that was really the biggest problem. I always was asked if the clients were like a big deal or somebody gave me a hard time. And in reality, except once, customers are generally speaking very reasonable. I'm sure that this is not the case every time. Sure, there are worse customers, probably even depends on the city. I'm 100% sure this is not always the case. But personally, in my experience, it was always the people who you work with. Also because the customers is someone that you don't see. So sure, they could like call me a dick or whatever, but it isn't someone that carries, like there's no shame caring afterwards. You're gonna get chewed out a little. Sure, this is going to be not great. But after a while, like like after this third time or fourth time that your boss tells you some good ones, you're gonna be like, sure, my boss told me to fuck off. It was not pleasant. It wasn't pleasant, but it wasn't like the worst thing ever. I'll survive, sure, whatever. On the contract, this makes you a little bit lazier. So I'm lazier than I could have been if I was not, if I was less used to the boss chewing me out. I've done a lot of different, there's been had a lot of different epiphanies in my work life. Because I've been working for about 8 years outside of my professional field. So there's 3 years that I work as a developer, and then 8 as I work in general. And let's smear some stuff. And I've had different. I had different. How do I say it? Different balances with the work. After working in a restaurant, that is the one that really made me collapse into work is work, and made me lazier than I already was, especially since you always collect the paycheck. Then after I finished university, I was very passionate about programming, and I rushed my first experience. Coming back, it was stressful, sure, but without my experience as programmer, maybe I could have stuck around a little more. Because work is gonna suck to some level always. And I didn't knew how lucky I was that my manager was just simply a good programmer. So in retrospect, I would have sticking more, would have stuck more in that job. Now, was I stressed by my boss? A lot. But that's just how jobs are. Like my current company is great. Not gonna lie, this is simply definitely the best so far. But there is also becoming a better professional, which might help. I don't know, I'm a little bit disillusioned with that aspect because at the end of the day, experience is king, which makes you lose faith into studying outside of work or bullshit like that. I don't think I have ever been asked or talked about my personal projects, which to some people is going to be like the expected outcome. I see you. It is crazy that not even the spirit of someone who likes to learning is important. Because here's the deal, where there are not that many of people who are like me, like very few. So I thought that that would count more. Now, one way in which I tried to get back into it, I want to start doing a little of open source. Hopefully that will ignite a little more passion, because at the current moment I don't feel like at all to get back to it. Time will tell if I'm correct in my assessment. Maybe I will lose on some jobs that I could have gotten by being more instructed. But this comic book stuff and this drawing stuff is getting more and more serious and more fun every day. That's also not to be discarded, because it has been a long time since I've done something that I wish to do. There was always a lot of things that I have to do and very little things that I wanted to do. And it does feel nice to have this time of my life be about what I wish to accomplish by myself, for myself. I feel wrong a lot of the times about this. I used to be very beaten up by it. But little by little, I have learned to enjoy my time, especially because it is still miles better than passing time on TikTok, both because I can flex that I'm drawing and I'm streaming and whatever, but mostly because it is really more satisfying. I think that that's the part that made me lose will to play, is that video games are fine, sure, but video games are not that satisfying, really. Like, the boss in a video game, it has been put there to be beat. There's really no real failure to video games. You get to try again, always. And also, by the same coin, video games take, like, the longest one. I don't know. I have played Elden Ring. I know what's it called? I know about Monster Hunter, that, like, there's a lot of grind. But strictly speaking, but something that takes a lot of time, not because it is designed to take a lot of time, like Clash of Clans. It's a waste of time because it is meant to waste your time. I'm talking about something like I don't know, Dark Souls, or even better, Elden Ring. So this is stuff that wastes your time because it's hard. It doesn't waste your time on purpose. Like, you want to get most in most cases you won't be able to do a boss as your first try. So it will take at least 3, 4, or 5 tries. So that's the ones that I'm talking about. There's a range of difficulty, and that difficulty will stick. So that kind of games now really pisses me off, because I don't enjoy that process anymore. And I don't enjoy it simply because the that process relies on rewarding you for the difficulty of the game. And this is cool, but real life is just so much harder. At the end of the day, like it or not, Dark Souls wants to be finished. It is always meant, or Bloodborne or whatever, it was always meant for you to be able to finish it. Even if you finish like on whatever is the way, whatever is the time, you are meant to finish it. Now, real life is not the same, and I think that gives a lot more weight to the achievements. Like at the end of the day, I can always quit my comic book. Nobody's here really wants to see it, and like it wasn't designed for me to get the comic book done. I just really wish to. And the satisfaction when the challenge is not designed there for you. Plus, adding the fact that it's simply harder because it requires years and years of practice. I think it does add to the value. That's why I tend to not play that as much video games as I used to back in the day, because back in the day I was always brought down by the heaviness and the difficulty of what actually means to produce something more than just this. Like if I was in love with games, I would still play them, but I much rather draw or read comics. Like that's something that I would much rather do. Okay, so there's a lot of details in this drawing. I think this is the most detailed so far. So the last touch is going to be the fur. So let's go to Pinterest. Take a look. And yeah, it works out better both as satisfaction and low or both as satisfaction and as something that keeps buying, because I always felt like the worst offender is League of Legends, since there's not even a story. So in the cool thing is you can always talk about how your school is going, how your how did you like the story. While in a lot of games, it's going to be, yeah, that was a hard boss, and I did it. No. And that's the part that I don't like. While as drawing every single one I do, going back, it will reinforce my skills. It will allow me more. And it does feel quite good. So for these specific reasons, just felt just feel a lot better to work on the craft. Also, whatever you produce, it is automatic communication to anyone who's watching. So that's definitely something to watch for. So the guy did some cross hatching. Tell you what, I'm gonna cross hatch it a little more to follow the shadow parts, just so I can get a little texture in here, or something that looks like texture. So yeah, this is how I quit video games. It wasn't like I quit it reasonably, but at some point I was ranking and aiming for plat, and I got the platinum that year. Took like myself a month, I think, of me being useless and playing League all day. And then once I was finished, you might think it was this big satisfaction moment, but then I was met with a newer height. So basically, the pursuit of the league ladder just only grew. Like I did not had a finish line. I had a like my finish line has turned into a starting line. And I was thinking to myself, like I had little friends that played ranked anymore consistently as I was doing at that time. And basically nobody was impressed by that achievement. Most people would not care. Then I thought about it, well, maybe most people did not care. How about me? Did I care? And in retrospect, I watched closely to how I felt about it, and I didn't care. Then suddenly it hit me like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, am I playing something just out of. I'm grinding out of. For the love of grinding? Then, when I used this realization and I put it with what Jim Carr said, which is that games are proxy for careers, I think it stick with me. Like at this current moment, I don't feel at all like playing. I'm fine to play with friends, but I get always frustrated outside. It is very satisfying to play at this moment with my girlfriend. She is getting into gaming thanks to me, or I'd say for it's my fault if she's now playing games, but that's different. That's spending some time with people, and games can be a vehicle, and for that, games are great. But for my own satisfaction, I don't think so. I should be starting or finishing because I actually had a couple of games that I wanted to finish, which is like I played and wanted to finish Life is Strange 1. I know that the next one are worse, but story-based game with little to no gameplay, those sounds good. Should even try this interactive novel mania, like Save the Princess kind of stuff. Those are definitely some kind of games that I want to get my hand on. Now that they have adult money. I always wish that my girlfriend would like them more. She's very impatient, and sometimes to strike gold, you need to suffer a tiny bit. She doesn't want to strike gold very often. Speaking of impatience, I'm basically done. This reads something at least. Right, this is what it goes out. I have half an hour, so I can maybe sketch it out. Go to the bathroom, sketch it out. Go and find my mints for my throat. No backgrounds because I am absolutely burnt on this drawing. It was cool. It is cool as fuck, I think. But going for a background, it will 1 or 2 days. If this was a piece that I could be spending more days, sure. But since it's today, the day I'm already behind on it, I'm content with whatever is going on. Actually, the empty background is probably better because there's a lot going on over here. So I don't want to overstay my welcome. Has been a lot of good results to getting my there's a lot of good shit to getting my to do a drawing for as long as I like. Like a lot of the time I fell victim of pursuing longer than needed. But if it's always stressful, you wouldn't want to do it. I was infected with this Goggins virus. Oh fuck. I forgot to turn off the sketch layer. Not a biggie. I actually unplugged the Instagram. So yeah, maybe I don't even get to do more. I have still like I'm on for an hour. So yeah, one thing that has been helping me out to keep the motivation to keep going on and on is the fact that I'm not over pushing myself. In the past, I fell victim of you stay until you get it done. But there's a lot of magic in staying until you feel uncomfortable enough. There's a place when you start to be very uncomfy. And that's a place that is okay for short bursts of time. Because when I came back like to streaming and when I came back to drawing, the cool thing about not being able to the cool thing about stopping when I felt like it is that now I stream 1 hour and draw for 1 hour without any problem. Whilst before, I might have been able to stream for 3 hours, but that was going to be like one day. Because the second hour felt like a huge burden. Each and every day, if I could get myself to sit here at 7, I could go on for 9, especially when like this drawing, when the hard part has been done a lot. Myself, the sketch is what makes it hard for me. Anything besides the sketch, it is actually unironically easier because the sketch requires you to nail down anatomy, requires you to nail down a lot of details, and you don't have the same burden in the last part. Or I liberated myself from the same burden. I can go as long as I can. I can put the details directly in ink, which is not something I used to do beforehand. I've put my process way beyond the I've put my process way beyond the idea of how others have a process. So for me, it works a lot better when I focus on one thing, get it done, then move to the other. So I liked this time that I first off worked on the head. When I was kind of done with the head, I worked on the jacket, and after the jacket, I worked on, like, separating it in different layers felt amazing. Going always one to one to what other people do felt very bad because I don't like to work everything a little. I literally enjoy it way more when I can work the whole thing without, like, I want to dive straight up into the specific until it looks nice, and when it looks nice, circle back. Plus, started to get a lot more liberties. Like, one point is this top hat to accentuate the shape of clothes, the shape behind it. It is working well, very nice. And also got me back into studying, which I didn't think it would happen. Last year I quit Dropbox because I was fed up and I thought myself that this is the paths that I wanted to take. Now coming back, I started to respect the fundamentals that I have forgotten for a long time. So little by little, I'm gonna work it out to get those fundamentals back. Then after those fundamentals, I'm gonna start to buy some books and courses and little by little chirp at them and see what progress can we make. Like in 1 year, I hopefully will be able to. Will be able is not the correct term, but hopefully the next year I can work consistently to get my comic book out on its feet. After the comic book is on its feet, narratively speaking, then I'm gonna work out on the characters, on how some let's say workflow, and how I can represent them at the current moment. And if I'm good enough, maybe at the end of the maybe by the end of the year I can actually be working out on it. The last thing that it it's curious is how long it will take. It is a little bit disappointing that I couldn't master like more than one chapter a month probably. Maybe 2 a week, but I know that most artists, especially independent one, take like 80 hours. It takes about 80 hours or 100 hours to make a comic book, to make one chapter. So that's the only thing that doesn't really speak good to me. I wish it was faster. but I'm gonna arm myself with a lot of patience and be on my way. As even as today, I thought I would like to make the sketch for the next one, but I need a break. I need a break, and then it's 20 minutes over. It's still a record from the current times, 120. So hopefully in the next weeks I'm gonna get to 2. That would be sweet. And work my way out to the days that I can free. I cannot get quite to 3, but 2.5 would be sweet. At the moment I'm not in the position to make 3. Maybe 6:30, 9:30 could work. Let's see. I can start work a little bit later. So thank you for watching. I think, I don't know, I haven't done a raid in a long time. Let's see if somebody is doing the Inktober. I don't think so. So same category, yep. Events. Maybe even English would be good. I don't see any Inktober stuff. Which is sad because I would want to. I would want to put on some Inktober stuff. But I don't see anyone doing it. Well, that doesn't quite seem right. I've tapped yeah, Inktober is less popular than I would imagine. That's disappointing. Like I had a larger blast with last year with my without end of code. Maybe I'm too early. I'm the only one with the Inktober. Well, let's raid anyone from my category, which is like a couple of viewers. I'd like to connect with people from my level of drawing. Let's go low to high, but not as low as 1. Specifically English. And she's the only one. Well, whatever. Or I guess he. Do I give him 1 viewer? Oh, let's get with 1. So I will see you tomorrow. Let's do a little raid and see you tomorrow. Bye.